Survive! Kill the robot! Murder them! Murder them all! No! So risk your life! Hello and welcome to another episode of Between the Studs. Today we've got Mark and Steven, two guys you might have seen on the show Lego Masters.
Maybe.
Talking about one of our favorite themes today.
One of the best themes of all time, frankly.
Exo Force. Now,
one of the coolest themes of all time.
I agree, yes. I think that this is one of those themes that really does it for me. Most of our coworkers at Atlanta Brick Co. don't really know that much about this theme, though.
I kind of missed it. It's in a very interesting spot in its release date. So a lot of the people here don't quite remember it. Some of our older fans,
Too young or too old?
It's usually in the middle. Yeah, we're right in the middle, sort of, and this is where this lands.
Exactly. Because Exo Force came out in 2006, 7, and 8 for its 3-wave.
It saved Lego.
A great couple of years for us as far as buying and enjoying these sets, but it was also probably in between for a lot of collectors. Probably some dark ages were happening at that time. So.
Yep, and Lego's own dark age was going on right in the middle of this.
Well, before that.
Oh, just before, before this landed, yeah.
Yeah, because 2001 to 3 and 4 were pretty rough for the Lego. We talked about this, especially with like
up till around 2006. Up till around 2006.
Well, 2004, 5, and 6, they were starting to get back out of it. I think Exo Force helped with that.
I think it's one of the good turnaround themes. This is like fantasy era, Dino Attack, and like this are like the real turnaround themes, in my opinion.
The first Exo Force wave was pretty successful. I think even the second one was. I don't think the third one.
They ran out of ideas. They wrote themselves into a corner.
We'll talk more about the specific waves in a little bit, but first, so for those of us here watching that don't know what Exo Force is, it was a very dynamic Lego theme that was released in those 3 years we talked about in 3 different waves, and the theme of Exo Force was humans versus robots. The humans and robots once coexisted peacefully, living together, but then one day Mecha 1, the golden robot, I think he's inside this vehicle here.
He was the smartest robot. He was.
I think he was the first robot.
I think so, yeah.
And so he decided that the robots shouldn't serve the humans anymore. I think they were kind of working for the humans, like they didn't have any freedom.
In the comics, it was actually a partnership. They were friends and stuff like that. They worked together, but
maybe not the completely equal.
It wasn't quite ideal.
Yeah. And so the robots ended up turning on the humans and quickly took over half of the mountain that the humans lived on.
This whole world is based on.
And the mountain is either, I'm not sure if in the comics it was split or it was already split.
It was split right after.
Yeah, split after. It was like earthquake. And so there was the evil side of the mountain, there was the good side of the mountain. In fact, that logo is shown in pretty much every piece of...
the mountain's called Sentai Mountain, is that correct?
Exactly.
Sentai Mountain. Battle for Sentai Mountain, that's basically what it's referred to.
And that logo is on a lot of the Exo Force stuff, including the humans especially show it off in their emblems and stuff. So you can see that a little bit.
It's definitely a very iconic piece of the decor for these guys, the decals and stuff like that.
Yeah, the stickers were a real highlight of these sets. We'll talk about the sets in a second too. We talked about 3 waves. So yeah, there's 2 sides, humans and robots. There's 2 very different sides because the human characters, they're all extremely unique. They have names, they have
backstories,
custom color schemes, custom faces, double-sided faces. Each figure has a serene-looking face and then a really
anime. The most violent faces in Lego ever are on the other sides of these guys, except for one. This guy's pretty nice.
The Dragon Ball Z.
Literally, it's Goku screaming. Yeah, like it's total anime rage on
the
one
ferocity.
side of these guys. Yeah. Especially on 2 guys specifically. We'll get to their names in a minute, but yeah, it's very dramatic. Very. You can tell immediately that Lego was inspired off of anime, and this is one of the only times they've ever tried that. Yeah. They love, you can catch a lot of whips with like mecha anime. I don't watch much of it at all, much of anime of any kind, but you can tell from pop culture they took some really fun elements and they incorporated.
It wasn't just they were like directly inspired by anime for all the characters and a lot of the mechs and stuff too, and kind of the larger than life climactic theme of robots versus humans. This is like a do or die kind of situation.
Yeah, the desperation is always there, and the characters of. Have anime-esque backstories and stuff like that. So
ferocious. It's really it's vivid.
Yeah. It's very dramatic and more dramatic than any Lego theme that had come before it or since, except for maybe Dino Attack, because this was a full-on war. This was a battle. This was a fight to the death for these guys, and it's very violent for Lego, and Ninjago, which is basically the successor of this, is way more playful, way more fun, way more Lego-y. This was more anime-y, and I think that's why they kind of ditched this idea after a while.
Yeah, we'll talk about that at the end with the conclusion. But so the robots are much simpler than the humans. They look a little Bionicle-esque.
They are very Bionicle. They even share some parts.
First of all, the arms are the same as the micro Bionicle figures, but the back of the head usually had a little red axle to give them a glowing red eye
Which
look.
is a Bionicle thing.
A Bionicle trope. They always had that piece that was lighting up the eyes.
They usually had a piece that could show... Yeah, they had a piece,
Yeah, exactly. So I didn't really realize that as a kid, but nowadays I'm seeing some...
pretty obvious when you grow up, yeah.
At least some design choices that were similar to Bionicle, which is interesting.
I bet they had some Bionicle guys working on these. I'll bet.
Probably. But there's 3 tiers of robots. There's the drones, the Devastator drones, which are the copper color, like the bronze.
It's a nice color, actually.
You have the silver Devastator. They're not called drones. They're just called Devastators.
And they're the pilots.
And they're the pilots, usually. And like this guy up here, he's a modified Devastator. And they had a couple variants that had transparent, like medium blue, neon green, and red.
Was it marbled?
Marbled into the torso.
That's right.
Torso only, not the legs and hands.
So they're different colors. Isn't there a green one? There's a green one.
Yeah, it's neon green,
you said green,
red, and blue. No, yeah, so they had 3 colors plus the original plain silver. So they had 4 different variants of the silver, kind of mid-tier robot. They're never droid. The top of the list, there's the Mecha one, and he was gold with a little bit of marbled black in his torso.
Which is, he's the coolest.
He's very cool.
He has a unique walker mech, whatever they're called. I don't know what the actual name of these vehicles is. If there is a specific one, a mech. Yeah, he has his own unique mech. He's got his own unique color.
In the comics, Mecha one is
a predominant character, by the way.
He's terrifying villain.
Very terrifying.
Clawed hands, really menacing and clever. Like basically, he can see.
Basically, as smart as a human, as a robot. Yeah.
Maybe even more so because he can kind of know what the humans are going to do because he can predict what they're doing.
Yeah,
he's very strategic.
He's more mathematical. Yeah. He's genuinely terrifying. One of the scariest villains. He doesn't look very bad to the bone.
Not
like
very menacing.
He's kind of like, he's
but he's
laying
got all these robots. He's a hive mind of robots.
But he's straight up terrifying in the comics.
And I think they actually managed to kill him. And guess what? He has 1 billion replacements ready to go of himself.
He copied and pasted himself, and he was ready to go in case he ever died. So there's no way you can take him out, which is frankly brilliant.
Yeah,
like no other stories that I can pick from just off the top of my head as a character.
Palpatine a little bit, but
Palpatine. But even then, that's kind of a stretch. This makes sense. He's a robot. Makes perfect sense.
He's just copy and paste. Yeah,
and that's honestly genius in the story. But anyway, we'll keep going.
That's pretty much the robot characters. They have a bunch of obviously they're the enemies of the humans. They have a bunch of different robots.
They have
very
no
menacing.
soul. They're very mean. They're just they're
out for blood. And then the human characters, you have the band of heroes, and you have a couple of side characters we'll talk about too. Yep. The main heroes, let me load up the computer so I can get their names all correct.
And they're not easy to pronounce, especially if you're dyslexic or partially dyslexic.
Like
10-year-old dyslexic Steven had a really hard... the only one I can remember is Ryo. R-I-O.
Yeah.
And that's the only one I could... I don't even know if I'm saying it right.
R-Y-O, yes.
R-Y-O, sorry, Ryo.
So Ryo was your favorite character. He had the purple hair and the red headband, and
orange. Yeah.
He had a different outfit for each of the 3 waves. The robots looked the same every single time, but they had different outfits for whatever vehicles they were in. And then my favorite character was I pronounced it Takeshi, but I'm pretty sure that I'm completely butchering it. It's probably
Takashi.
Takashi. Anyway, there's a couple ways that it could be pronounced. I am not good at Asian language at all, so it's
Japanese is not our first language.
he was the red guy with the green hair. And he often rode the bigger, kind of beefier vehicles.
He was the muscle of the group.
And then Ryo was the tech. He was all electronics and programming and designing new.
He was the
mechs.
tinker. He was the
tinker.
Yeah,
that's a good way to describe it.
He was basically what's his name? The purple Ninja Turtle. What's his name?
I don't know.
Donatello. I think. Maybe.
Someone in the comments will get us.
Yeah, I better not make somebody mad. I don't know.
Anyway,
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Hikaru had the blue hair and the white outfit, and usually was in the air, flying around. Very
This
noble.
guy here.
Yeah, that's one of his.
We have his mech available. We don't have the Grand Titan, which is Takashi's.
Actually, that's not his main mech. That was his secondary one. That was in the Sentai
This
Fortress.
is way better than the other one, even though the white one's really nice too.
I like that one a little better than the white one.
It's much bigger and meaner looking, I like it.
The final of the 4 main characters was Hayato, which was that guy, and that's one of his main vehicles.
He was the crazy... This was kind of like the de facto leader, the blue guy, kind of. Like, he was the most calm one, the other...
Him and the red guy were kind of a little bit maybe a little bit.
Yeah, but they were probably the more senior of the group, you could tell. They just were the more like
experience.
Yeah, exactly. This guy was the nutcase. He was Michelangelo. I know that one. He was the orange.
He was the carefree one. Yes.
This was the most agile of all the mechs that they had made, and this one he could do backflips. He was always outrunning all of the flying robot drones that would try and kill him.
The fire vultures.
They could not catch him. He was always like doing the most death-defying stunts, sort of by accident. Like he was very careless.
My favorite vehicle from him is the Aero Booster from the second wave.
Throw up a picture of that. That was a good one.
We don't have it here, unfortunately, but it had a tiny little mech with the
gigantic on the back.
Absolutely maniac of a vehicle. He would just fly around.
I love that. There was very distinct. All these characters were very different from each other.
So yours was definitely, your favorite was the orange and purple.
Oh, could I get into Uplink? We didn't really talk about this guy.
We'll talk about the sets in a second.
Okay, sure.
Let's talk about the characters. And so then there was also their esteemed leader.
Their sensei.
And it was Kaiken, I believe is how it's pronounced. Kaiken. And he is the sensei, the wise sage, a little too old to ride in the mechs, so he sends out his characters.
He's Sensei Wu. That's who he is. He's just Sensei Wu.
Master Wu, Sensei Wu, however you want to pronounce it. That's exactly what his character
He's the same guy.
Was before Ninjago came around.
But he's really cool.
Another named character was Hitomi, and she was in the second wave. She was actually, I believe, the daughter or niece of Sensei.
Granddaughter, I think.
Granddaughter,
I think.
Yeah, Kaiken. She was a named character. She was very much sidelined in the third wave, which is tragic.
A shame. She was actually really cool.
She's a cool character.
She had a really nice mech, too.
Exactly.
Hers was orange and white. She was more of a white mixed color.
Yeah, and she was also like on a tower defense build, too, from the second wave. We'll have to talk about the sets in a minute.
Yeah.
But and then there was also Gate Guard, so he was a very generic-looking Exo Force soldier.
He was a red shirt, yeah.
Red shirt. Same as in Star Trek reference. Same outfit as Ryo, but he had just black hair and a more plain-looking face, less detailed.
More generic.
Yeah.
He
was no visor, no headband, no scars, so he looked more normal. And he came in two different sets, and he didn't really have a name.
I think he had a few appearances, or a character like him in the comics. He was like Ryo's, kind of like his almost like his apprentice, sort of. Like
because he discovered him in a cave all by himself, and he didn't know the humans were still alive.
Really?
Yeah, and he was like,
"You're
not a robot!" And he was so excited.
That's right! Oh my word! I've not read that in a long time. Yeah, Ryo saved him, and then they both were working on. Yeah, they were like the buddy cops almost.
Exactly. Yeah, so he helped him later. And he probably had a name in the comics, but it's escaping me now. We'll see if we can throw up a picture.
He is really similar to the Gate Guard.
Yeah, that's basically who was made after him.
I'll have to, in post, look up his name.
So that was all the characters that we had from Exo Force. Not a ton, but definitely familiar if you're familiar with Ninjago nowadays. So, there's definitely things that carried over.
Many parallels.
Yeah, many things that were definitely referenced. So, yeah, the human characters are great. Did you know about the human characters' names having specific meanings, Steven?
This I did not know.
Okay, so let's start with Hayato, the happy-go-lucky guy.
The crazy one.
His name in Japanese means day to day.
Day to day.
Yeah, so he takes it one step at a time.
Oh, he lives for the moment.
Yeah, it's a direct reference to day.
Because he's just so crazy.
Yeah, it's like a saying almost, and so that's his name. That's what it means.
Like you only live once, essentially.
Yeah. YOLO is basically that's his name. Yeah,
which makes perfect sense because he was the nutcase.
So Hikaru in Japanese means to shine. So the air leader, noble, means to shine. So it's really like a very potent name. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it.
To shine. Well, he was up in the sky all the time. He kind of like flew among the clouds.
He was the shining leader of the Exo Force. So pretty cool stuff. Kaiken means experience. Because he's the experienced old sage character.
That's
really
perfect.
Cool. And I didn't even know any of this.
I didn't know that. Wow, this is a deep dive.
So Hitomi, the girl character, her name, it's actually a given name in Japanese, so somebody could be named this in Japan.
So it's an actual name.
But it means beautiful and wise. So
perfect. She was actually one of the smartest of the group.
She was a level-headed character. Yeah, so it was really great.
Almost foiled Mecha One's plan at one point. I'll go into that later.
She tried to, yeah.
She nearly got him, too. Yeah.
Ryo, his name means excellence. So
cool!
Isn't that cool?
That almost fits, but that's actually so cool. I didn't know they were based on names.
He's always trying to do better.
That's right, he's always improving. That's right, him and... okay, we'll get more into that.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
And then... I'm going to just say Takeishi. I'm sorry, I'm butchering it.
But
Takeishi,
botched.
His name is Military Warrior.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's also a given name in Japanese, so there are people named Takashi, Takeishi, whatever, however it's pronounced, there are people named that in Japan. So
interesting. Yeah.
And
that makes total sense because he was the most violent of the group.
Ryo could also be a given name sometimes too.
So. Gotcha.
So those 3 were actual names, but and then Gateguard is Gateguard.
Yeah.
He probably had a name in the comics.
It's bringing back memories. I'm picturing the
very crazed looking guy at first, but he got back safe with the humans, and he got to fight another day.
That's right.
But isn't that great? The human characters, so much story in one wave of Lego sets, especially fleshed out in the comics.
Yeah.
And a lot of thought put into them too, because they could just named them Ken or Kai or other names, like, you know what I'm saying, other silly names, but they all have meaning.
Can I get into the comics? This where did they even come from, sort of thing?
Let's make sure. So let's
just real quickly. I could talk about the anime inspiration.
Let's go ahead and talk about anime inspiration in comics.
Okay, so what's interesting is Lego.com had a bunch back in the day. They had a bunch of really fun things. Now it's all kind of like very young centric.
They still do, but they're very much more juvenile than
very little kiddish games that you can play on there occasionally if you want to. Nowadays, most people don't care about it, but back before,
kids might still
before iPhones, before this, they had a lot of really fun games and also comics. On Lego.com. They had web series. You could click the button, it would load up some graphics, it would show the cool things happening, it'd show the characters moving.
Next page.
And they would release in waves.
They're still available on the Exo Force fandom wiki.
Okay, I never found that, but I did find them on a really chintzy-looking archival anime site that did have all of the complete works of the Exo Force. I did go back years ago. I looked it up. I'm like, does this thing still exist? And it does.
Totally does. You can find it.
Yeah, but there was one for Knights Kingdom 2 that was way more dumbed down. It wasn't nearly as good. Yeah. But then this one was actually really advanced. They had characters. There were actual battles. The first battle in the story was they had to get the blueprints for this thing. It was basically Star Wars. They were fighting to find the blueprints. They were going in and out of the bases for these guys, the robot bases. They were getting captured. They were getting rescued. But they needed blueprints for the striking venom because they found out there's a weak spot underneath here. Yeah. So just like the Death Star, that has a weak spot. The Grand Titan was the one that finally brought this thing down with this guy's help.
Underneath, he powered all of his power.
He put everything into the gun and drained the whole core and then shot right through it and took off a leg and then it fell over. And then this guy swooped underneath and grabbed him before it crushed him. So it was a really climactic ending.
That's epic.
So this blue guy, the 2 biggest mechs had to team up against this thing. I'm getting goosebumps. It was just so exciting. So that was the first wave. The second wave was the search for the Golden City. So after that battle, the well-established humans colonies, like their cities and stuff, were basically flattened after this battle. It was a big push for these guys. There was a lot of build-up to this fight too. Yeah. But the second one, okay, we need a new base, and they found out there's something called the Golden City. So it was a precursor to this whole uprising. It was like their capital. And after the robots left, this thing got abandoned. And then the Golden City, which is all, they never made a set really of the Golden City, but there's a lot of it in the graphic
architecture
arts.
Except
it's
for
all
the
in the art. It's in the box art and the graphic arts and stuff like that. You see it all over the place. And there were some really classical mechs that looked like almost like how Star Wars went more like fantasy looking in the prequels. Like everything's more sleek with more beautiful architecture versus the more World War II style.
Exactly.
Same story. So they got to the Golden City, got some nice mechs, and then they had another big fight with another big bad boss. And there was a cool battle for that. They got into the city, and then they figured out how to shut them down, and then the robots had to retreat. That was exciting. And then Sensei, what's his name? Kaiken in the third wave got captured, and then they had to rescue him. It was just a rescue mission. At that point, the comics were winding down. The theme was winding down. They were running out of ideas.
Yeah, they were going into the jungle for some reason. Now, here's the thing. The comic in the first wave was the most detailed. Second wave is still pretty detailed.
Was really
Third
good.
wave was an afterthought. Had like 2
It was almost like a half thing. Like it was. They had a few fun little things.
The drawing quality went down significantly in wave 3, and it just ended it.
It was like, okay, they ran it. I think I know why they quit it too, because it was just robots versus humans. With Ninjago, we can get into that later, but Ninjago
so much more Ninjago.
So many villains. They have the skeletons, which are beloved. They have the snakes, which are beloved. They have
way
the
more
cyborgs.
fantasy,
They have a bunch of other ones. All different worlds: Ghost, Pirates, Apocalypse. You name it. Ninjago's done it. But these guys just had robots, and they ran out of ideas.
They had one
clearly ran.
One storyline.
Great characters, but they just ran out of ideas. Yeah. And that was the end. They went into the jungle. They had jungle mechs. They had other stuff. They were okay. We have one example, but they weren't as good, and people knew it, and it was drawing to a close. And not long after that, Ninjago showed up.
Yeah, it was just a couple years after 2008. It would have been like 2010, 11, 12 is when Ninjago started making its appearance.
A couple more years, they're like, well, let's try it again and make the villains better. And they did. And Ninjago is still here today, which is crazy.
I know. I think capitalizing on ninja but then using some ideas from Exo Force.
The mechs are actually pretty similar to first-gen mechs from...
Ninjago.
Yeah, first and second-gen mechs from Ninjago. You see some parallels. So
now, Ninjago,
same people.
Ninjago mechs are far superior than any Exo Force ones nowadays, but it's because they're way bigger, way more pieces,
new parts, new molds, new colors.
These blaze the path for them, and I think the appreciation for Lego mechs
also dragons. I mean, you didn't have dragons in Exo Force.
Yeah,
it didn't happen. So.
Yeah. Ninjago made a lot of great choices, which means it's still successful today.
This was the testing ground, and they learned lessons, and they really capitalized on it.
It was another legacy influence on Ninjago, so it's really cool to see that. Let's see. Let's go over the sets. Let me get them up here. And I'll bring up the title, and we've both seen and played with most of the sets.
Let's go over the highlights, the really good ones.
Well, yeah, we'll talk about most of them. Yeah. But let's talk about Wave 1 first. Mm-hmm. And it came with all the main characters had their own mech usually, or were part of a larger base or something like that.
Yep.
The first one I want to talk about is the Stealth Hunter, which is the all white with cool blue sticker patterns, and it had Hikaru.
Such a cool design.
So that was one of the more iconic mechs for sure. The all white, and it has a cool sniper rifle. And
is it dark blue? Is the sticker color? Is it dark blue?
It looks kind of like a violet blue.
Oh right, it matches this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. They had like matching. Yeah, that's Jango Fett purple, isn't it?
It looks like it. It's a very violet color.
I think it is.
And so. Very cool mech. We never owned this one as kids, and I still think we only have like a partially complete version at home that I wasn't able to fix up in time. But
a couple of our friends had this one, I think.
Yeah, and so that was very popular. I remember our friends had it. That's great.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
So a good set. That one had 160 parts, a minifigure. Came out in 2006 to the first wave.
Great stuff.
Next set I want to talk about.
Your mech.
This was my favorite. I actually got this one as a kid. It was one of my favorite sets for a long time. The Grand Titan. It had Take Shi, for lack of a better pronunciation. And he had a huge claw. He had the spinning gun. And now all the Exo Force, the Wave 1, their party trick was this laser.
You can barely see it.
This fiber optics battery, which was impossible to replace. It's literally fused inside there. And it had this fiber optic cable that could light up part of the creation, which is really cool. Mm-hmm. And so
it was so dim, it just didn't do much.
It only lasted for maybe a year before it ran out of battery. Mm-hmm. And all the original mechs had that. They did not continue that afterwards.
Oh, all of the larger ones. The smaller ones don't.
The smaller ones didn't. All the original big ones, including the villain ones, had that.
Mm-hmm. And that was like if you could cut that, you would run out of power. So it was like a weak spot for some of these guys. That's why the scissors were so useful on him.
In the comics, yes. So that's why his scissors were very effective.
It wasn't like a game over, but it was a big hindrance if you lost your cord thing. So,
it's like cutting the Achilles heel of the villain.
It's your lifeline for your gun, essentially.
Yeah, so that was a great set. It had 192 parts at one minifigure. It came out the first wave. Mm-hmm. The Thunder Fury, which is my second favorite set.
Which we have.
It's right here, and has the original box as well. Yeah. So that was an awesome set. That was the biggest of the robot.
The baddest guys. You can pick them up.
Original soldier type mech. Large numbers of these would have poured across the bridges of Sentai Mountain to attack the... But so this one's a lot of fun. I have a couple of these because I was army building them at one point for tank battles. That's why this one still has a few modifications I need to remove or change. Mm-hmm. But so that was a lot of fun. One of my favorites for sure.
Oh yeah, a good baddie too.
And they were menacing in the comics.
Yeah, it was very serious if you were fighting this thing.
A huge, looking seemingly blood-covered blade that he had.
Yeah, it's dark red marble, dark red bionicle piece. Very cool.
The next one down on the robot army would be the Fire Vulture. So it's this flying guy here. This one's very cool. Pretty much original. I don't think there's any modifications here.
That was like the raiding one. It would go raid the human.
Yeah, has a flamethrower. He can fly because he's got this big
propeller thing,
helicopter propeller, so he can and fly over.
It doesn't look. It looks a little clumsy with it like that, but it was a pretty cool looking model.
In my opinion, this one clearly wouldn't fly as well as the human ones because it doesn't have as many wings. It just has a big fan. It would kind of be like a hovercraft kind of.
But they made up for it with one of the next sets, I think. The other flying one?
Yeah, we'll get to that. Yeah, so the Sonic Phantom, we don't have it here.
No, we have one in the store, by the way.
We have one for sale. It had a bunch of those big turbine pieces all over it, and it looks like it goes super fast.
Yeah, it was
more of an aircraft.
It was the fastest one for a long time. That had the speed record in the comics,
Yeah. So very, very menacing. That one has 208 parts. The Fire Vulture had 170 parts. Mm-hmm. Thunder Fury had 189 parts. So they're pretty small sets.
No, but they have good presence. They got good presence.
Yeah, but you get a lot of bang for your buck.
A lot of bang for your buck. They just look great.
Fiber optic lights and all these bigger ones.
Lots of great. So. Only one minifigure per mech, pretty much.
Yeah, that's all that was needed. Yeah. And then you had the Gate Assault, which is at 7705.
The only set that had Hayato.
Hayato, yes. And
Hayato, yeah.
you also had this little robot mech here, which didn't show up in any other sets.
Yeah, so these two guys are really cool. These guys would fight each other and stuff. This one didn't show up in the cartoon or comics or whatever very much.
Yeah.
It was always the Sentry, but this guy was really cool too.
Yeah, he was a Sentry size, but kind of like an enhanced one.
Exactly, yeah.
And then what I like is you have two very distinct classes of mechs. You have the big size, which are the capital size ones. Then you have the step down, the kind of smaller size mechs.
Soldier size ones, yeah.
So you have different sizes for different characters and stuff. So that's great. And also in the first wave, but it was towards the latter half of the first wave. During this time period in LEGO, they'd come out with a wave of sets, then they'd drop another 1, 2, or 3 large
just a couple
sets
big ones just to be fun.
to kind of, for those who already enjoyed the theme, they'd have one more to get for Christmas, basically.
Pretty much.
So a big special gift for them. So, But then that was the mobile defense tank. That was Ryo's bigger vehicle. It was a tank,
We've
not
got
a
a
mech.
half-built one of those. We didn't figure we'd bring it in.
We have actually two.
Really?
But they're both kind of in shambles, and
We'll
so
have to try and make them.
we could probably combine them to make a complete one
try
at some
and make
point.
one,
Anyway, great set. I don't think we ever had that one as kids either.
No.
But and then the Striking Venom was one of those end of the season type of things.
This
the big
monster.
baddie.
Here, can I just
We
check it out?
have one here, which I'm super happy about.
Look how much surface area this covers.
Yeah.
It's gigantic.
There are few sets that have as big a square footprint as this set.
That doesn't involve a base plate, you know?
Exactly.
Like, yeah, it's
So,
crazy.
shockingly, this is only 600 pieces.
That's all.
And it's the size of a gray base plate
When it's
cubed.
spread out. When it's all spread out. It's like these crab legs.
Yeah, and it's got some great play features. You've got this rotating turret. You've got these disc launchers, which were iconic for the time.
It's jammed up right now.
We're not going to launch it right now.
Kind of like the flick fire missiles and like the new ones, the lasers. That's what we had as kids. This is what we had.
Yeah.
It doesn't work very well, and it's very hard to shoot. But yeah.
There was also the spring-loaded shooters that we use in tank
Those
battles.
were better. Those guns were awesome.
This line had them a bit. So that was
Sometimes.
Striking Venom, a big baddie at the end of the season. And your favorite one.
Uplink! Okay, can I talk about someone really quickly?
Absolutely, I have to talk
All
about
right,
it in
so
detail.
Uplink, I'll go as quickly as I can because there's a lot to say. Uplink was actually a standard. This was the standard issue mech for the good guys, the humans. This would be this was the army builder mech. You could have 100 of these essentially.
It made sense.
Yeah, but there was one Uplink. Uplink was Ryo's big passion project. He made this thing like no other mech. It was sentient. It was the only mech that was sentient. All the other ones just did whatever the pilot wanted. They were just raw machines. This one was different, and the comics made that very clear. First of all, there was a couple instances. First of all, they tried to download. They captured Uplink at one point. The drones did. The drones captured it. They were very excited because they knew it was an advanced version. And they tried to siphon all the information, all the data they could out of this thing. And Uplink kept blocking them, like in his software. And then no matter what they did, they couldn't download any information. Like it knew that this was a hostile invader. And then later, in a really bad explosion, Ryo got knocked unconscious.
But his mech was captured by a fire vulture.
That's right. It was captured by fire. But before it was captured, and while he was unconscious, Uplink shot him out.
It ejected him.
Ejected him. Like even though he didn't know if he was going to land safely or not, but he ejected him, and then he got captured right after. So
the machine
go!
on its own volition saved its pilot.
There was no automatic. Like no, get rid of this guy because he's going to come back and save me. I know it. Like there was this.
And that's what happened.
That's exactly. He grabbed his turbo tank and ran in there and blew the doors down. Like I'm coming for you, Uplink. It was amazing. It was
man and machine.
Against orders, he went in and just blew the door down and took obviously he's not going to take over the whole base. He just needed this guy. But there was a really fun partnership between Uplink and Ryo, and I absolutely adored that. I thought it was just so much fun. Exactly. And they were constantly upgrading. He talked to him by his name. He didn't say my mech. He's just like Uplink's over there.
Yeah, exactly.
That was so cool. And I was very sad when they replaced him. I think he took the hard drive and put him in the new one or something like that.
Something like that.
Eventually, he had a green mech that wasn't Uplink, and I was very mad about that. So there's only one Uplink. Okay, that's why I'm wearing this shirt. This is Uplink's the gears.
I think it's safe to say we like the first wave the best, with the other waves being not quite the same, but still fun.
Yeah.
Next set in the line on Bricklink is going to be the Sentai Fortress, which was by far the biggest set from the line. It had 1,400 pieces, which is still a lot.
This is from Sentai Fortress.
8 minifigures. And that one is from Sentai Fortress. Had a whole mech defending it. It had a bad mech for Mecha 1 marching outside the gate. So
So a giant fort and 2 mechs. It was honestly a great bargain.
3 if you count the small one that Hayato would have held in his hands to attach pieces.
Like a hang glider.
Basically like a hang glider, yeah.
Yeah.
You can see in the picture. We unfortunately don't have Sentai Fortress. We never got it as kids.
No, it's awesome.
I think we actually have all those big orange pieces that I've acquired through bulk.
Yeah, we could just make our own.
One day we'll have to make one like it for ourselves. Maybe for a convention. We'll see. That'd be really exciting.
It's a really great model. It's the flag. It's so iconic to the set, to the theme, and you could walk a mech under those doors. It's very cool.
What I love is the only 2 builds had architecture in the first wave, but they really established the art style. And you can even see it a little bit on the back of this box. There's a beautiful image of the battle.
This is a really iconic poster for us.
Yeah, I'll hopefully be able to find a picture and put it up on the screen. But it shows these really beautiful bridges,
action-packed,
the gate and the city and the areas under attack by the evil robot machines.
It's kind of Drone Racers-y.
A little bit. It definitely has some early 2000s style to it. But
early 2000s sci-fi.
So
it's very iconic.
These orange buildings and fortifications of the humans are always under attack. So Sentai Fortress did a great job world building.
Yeah.
Which is something that not every theme is successful at, but Exo Force was, especially in its first wave, very successful.
It was a beautiful but violent world.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, very beautiful, very violent.
It's kind of right up our alley. It's very much our style. We like the war. We like the
But there's more to it just the raw violence. There was some cool little bits and nuggets and Easter eggs. Yeah.
Exactly. Speaking of little Easter eggs, we got the little sentry mech.
You really like this guy.
This was one of my favorites. I had one as a kid. That was my first Exo Force set, I believe. Yours was Uplink.
Yep.
Because they're the same size and price.
We thought, perfect. We'll have a bad guy and a good guy.
And so we have a little sentry here. I actually just bought this one because I've had 2 or 3 in the past, but they've all been taken apart. So
I took the stickers off.
Yeah. And the stickers have been removed.
Oh, I should quickly mention, this is not the Uplink from my childhood, although I did have one. I bought this at one of the many Brick Fair Alabamas I went to. So this is not the original, but it's good enough for me. So.
Yeah, and I got this sentry here at work. We get Exo Force every now and then, and I usually buy it.
Yeah, if you don't see them, it's because of us.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of Exo Force available right now, but so that was great. Only had 70 pieces, and Uplink had even less at 65.
That's all you needed. Like, it's got, that's all. And it's a really great model with a lot of presence.
A lot of bang for your buck, as we keep saying, but it's true. These guys didn't have a lot of pieces. They had like one minifigure, but it was so much fun.
I never missed more pieces. Like, I want more pieces. Like, no, it's a great design. They're all great designs. Well, most of them are really, really great designs.
And there's 2 other kind of end-of-the-line
limited editions.
Sets. Yeah, there was the Supernova, which is an all-yellow mech that would have been driven by Take Sheep. Sorry, pronunciation. And it has this cool, like, trident or bident weapon.
A pitchfork thing.
Yeah, pitchfork has a rightful gun, and then
with
it has
a Vladic sword on the back.
A lot of great kind of blades and wings off the back, so it's cool. Really cool. We never got that, and it's unlikely we will. It was kind of harder to find. But a very cool
Can I just mention something in the comics real quick?
Yeah.
That Supernova, it was like kind of a game changer for the battle leading up to this thing. It was taking out a lot of really big, heavy-hitting bad guys until the Striking Venom showed up, and they faced off at the bridge. It was the most epic thing. He tried to shoot his laser. There's a huge laser in that pitchfork. He tried to shoot this thing, but it absorbed the energy and fired it right back and destroyed him.
Yeah.
So that was this big thing. It could take the energy and shoot it back if they wasn't paying attention. Like
well, its armor was invulnerable too.
Pretty much, yeah. But they faced off, and Supernova lost. Yeah. And it would be the Grand Titan who would go in. But it wasn't Takashi who was driving it. It was just some random guy like, I made contact with a Striking Venom. Like, there was this whole layers of the battle, different like stages. It was a long process. And he tried to face it off, and he lost. It was like, oh no, Supernova!
I think they saved the pilot, but
yeah, the pilot got out okay. He made a run for it after the mech got destroyed. And then it was the Grand Titan that would finish the job.
Epic
it was
stuff.
so epic. Like,
awesome.
You felt sorry for it. Like, no, it was so cool. It was like some hidden secret project that they'd never revealed because it was too dangerous or something like that. Like, it's too dangerous to the pilot. But yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. So cool.
Very, very cool.
So cool.
And then one of the last ones from the first wave was the Bridge Walker versus White Lightning, and that included a cool mech for Hayato, a larger size one.
So he finally got a big one. He was,
exactly. And then there was a massive Bridge Walker, very ugly, evil-looking mech.
Hideous mech.
And very cool, but ugly. And has some huge guns on there. And
looks like it's going to fall over, though.
This was shown as basically, in the comics, there was only one little issue that it was in. It was at the end, and it was kind of wandering around lost in the valley below, and then Hayato and some of the flying ones took it out.
I think it was looking for them, actually.
Yeah.
I think it was looking for the refugees or something like that. Yeah.
Anyway, they kind of ambushed this one.
Yeah, so it kind of went out like a chump. It wasn't really that. It wasn't really
that should have been up on the top shelf next to this guy. Anyway,
it's big.
Anyway, maybe they didn't want to steal the thunder from this guy.
I think so, yeah.
So that was the end of Wave 1. Then we got the Wave 2, which had a few less sets, but nonetheless some very, very cool
Some
ones.
standouts.
The first one on my list was the Golden Guardian, which is a limited Golden Edition set. I don't know how limited it was. All I know is it is kind of rare now and very desirable.
It's just so cool. It's one of the nicest looking mechs, and one of the biggest.
Has a lot of gold pieces, has a huge golden gun, which is just really cool. It has golden shield, and it has Hayato got to drive it. So I'm really happy.
Good for Hayato. He finally got the real special one. Yeah, Grand Titan.
He starts out with a small one, so does Ryo, but he ends up building his way.
He gets a proper setup. You know, even Ryo had the tank.
Yeah, Ryo had a tank too, yeah.
Yeah, so he gets a proper send-off, yeah.
Exactly. Another, and I'm not sure if that was released earlier or later in the wave. I think it was in the middle.
Yeah, maybe. Let's see.
It's hard to say. It's all the same year.
Oh, that was right. That launched the second wave. I remember that. That was the launching set.
Okay.
Yeah.
And,
it was over there. It was on their magazines.
One that I think was a little bit more of a end of the line thing. I'm not sure. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. But the Combat Crawler X2.
Interesting.
It looks like a kind of
modified version.
A second version of the Striking Venom, a little smaller, a little more ant-like versus spider-like.
Yeah.
So it's pretty big. It has a little medium-sized mech to launch off the back, I believe.
And it's Ryo's driving that one. Interesting.
Ryo is actually captured.
No.
Because this is all robots.
Oh, so. It is all. It's just bad guys.
Yeah, just bad guys. Yeah.
Well, I don't remember him getting. Okay, so the original line was very close to the story, and then later they kind of just sort of the sets did mimic the story quite a lot, but it wasn't exact. They kind of
desynced a little bit.
They did desync, not a lot, but somewhat. So.
And you got Cyclone Defender, which is an okay mech.
Not uplink.
It's a step down from the design of the originals. In my opinion, it doesn't look as.
It doesn't have the big shoulders.
Yeah. They're starting to incorporate Bionicle pieces because it's way easier.
So much easier.
But not as cool looking. I think it's a little bit of a cop-out.
A little Bionicle is fine, but not too much, and they were going too much.
I think this was a little too far because they're using Bionicle feet instead of brick-built feet.
Yeah, they didn't need to.
Yeah. The other one was the Claw Crusher.
It was cool.
The opponent of the Cyclone Defender in Ryo.
Nice, pretty nice.
The other two, the larger ones, I do say look pretty good. But I still
really cool.
I like the first wave the most, but a lot of people do like the second wave just as much, if not more.
I think it's got its perks. I think these two are really nice.
Yeah. The Blade Titan, which was basically the replacement for the Grand Titan, and sorry, wrong name, was riding in that one.
Roll with it. I like the marbled parts.
Yeah, so it has marbled pieces, the red and dark red and white, very cool. It has dark red and white all over it, has a cool gun. It looks pretty nice. It's a little bit more like retro looking or grandiose,
classical.
Very
looking.
different aesthetic to the first wave.
Yeah, and I think that's totally fine. They might as well do something new. Mm-hmm. The older design did look nice.
So the Sky Guardian, which is Hikaru's mech, and it was flying around. That one is a weaker point in the line for me because the mech is a little bit awkward, has very big feet. And
yeah, the feet are too large.
The only really aesthetic detail here you've got is this cool sword, and he's got these 4 wings off the back, but they're not even as well positioned as the first wave ones. They're all straight up, like bunny ears.
Yeah, I think this is a nicer layout than that.
That is a more interesting design than this one.
He's going off of a really good mech. The white one, I don't remember the exact name, but the one with the double swords. What's his name?
Hikaru.
Hikaru's first
Stealth
mech.
Hunter. Yeah.
Stealth Hunter is actually very nice compared to that one. Like the Stealth Hunter, that's a lot to live up to.
It's got bigger weapons, but it's a step down as far as
I do like the sword.
The composition.
The sword is really cool.
Composition isn't quite there for me, but it's still a cool set. I'm sure people will enjoy it.
A couple baddies to enjoy.
The Shadow Crawler, which is a little tripod with a little. What I loved about this is this shows the robot's dark side.
Yeah, this is actually chilling. This is unnerving.
So the Shadow Crawler second wave set, it had the robot, it had the 3 legs, it had a few guns.
A bit of Striking Venom with the legs there.
Yeah,
this guy,
it looks like a mini Striking Venom.
A little bit.
Anyway, it had a little orb on the back, which contained a skeleton of a
corpse.
human.
There was a corpse in there.
And I don't know if that's a power source or if they captured a human or
and they just didn't let him out.
What the story is, but it's like almost like carrying a dead body above you because you're that evil.
Dark. This is still a little bit dark for Lego.
Another disc launcher loaded with discs. So.
It's one thing to have a guy in like a dungeon in a building. Like okay, fine, like a castle,
like a skeleton in the dungeon.
Fine, sure, that's almost a cartoon.
But carrying him around,
that's a little weird. That's a little dark.
That's pretty intense stuff.
Ooh, but now I get to some of the best sets.
I like this one a lot too. The Iron Condor, which is the flying equivalent of. It's like the replacement for the Fire Vulture.
I like that one more than the Fire Vulture.
It looks a lot better. It's got big feet.
It's got a nice gun.
It's got red claws on its hand, which looks cool. It's got a big spring-loaded shooter, and it just looks great. It looks almost like the Thunder Fury if it was a flying version.
I agree. And I like the yellow. That's the new thing.
And black looks kind of like a bee or a wasp. And it's
something caution. Caution. Black and yellow is caution, you know.
Great set, yes. And then now we've got the Arrow Booster.
Oh, this is good.
Which is the one we mentioned earlier. It's Hayato's
This is his
vehicle.
best thing. This is his best vehicle.
It looks like one of the earlier small mechs that has a huge air boost on the back.
Just this giant backpack.
Yeah, love it. It's just so cool.
The gun is amazing, dude. Like
giant rifle.
Huge rifle, like these huge turbines, very well integrated turbines. They're starting to get sleeker.
That actually had a handle on the back.
Yeah, you can drive it around. Like that was one of the. I want one of those one day.
For sure. And then this is where Hitomi came from, the fight for the Golden Tower.
First set.
Shows a little bit of that Golden City architecture. That's about
a little bit. Yeah. And that tower had a shield that the robots would deactivate, passively just deactivate, the moment they went in this field. And they had to try to break that down, and there's an interesting story.
They're trying to bomb it, and they have this really fast flyer to try and stop it.
Yeah, so they had a few strategies, but the humans could fight them off for the moment.
And then for the kind of end of the line Christmas upcoming set would have been the Mobile Devastator, which was gigantic and awesome. And I'm going to go quickly grab the box.
We have the box with some of the parts. Show them the wheels. Just
some of the pieces, yeah.
We got the wheels. We have an incomplete version of this at the store. Very incomplete. It's missing a lot of stuff, but that's what you could get, guys.
I think even the box.
It's not. It's Ryo driving this one. I thought it was.
No, he isn't driving. He's fighting it with his mech.
Yeah, exactly. He's driving this. Yeah. Look, we got more capsules with dead people in it too. At this point, I don't know why they carry him around. They could deploy drones, which was awesome. They had flamethrowers. The cockpit was a little nicer than this one. It's bigger.
Yep. Giant wheels.
The huge wheels, which I can grab one actually. Let me see if I can reach this. This was just, and it folded out, and the turret went bigger. Like, this is the wheel size, guys, just to give you an idea how big this thing is.
Those robots were out for
vengeance.
Total world conquest.
Total domination, yeah. These things were absolutely crazy.
So this one is very incomplete, so I'm hoping to acquire it and maybe work on it and see if I can complete it.
Yeah.
But right now it's the stores, and we'll see how that ends up.
In the back of the box art, you can see some of the. You can get pictures of those, bro. There's some of the Golden Fortress there, the Golden City.
Exactly. They have this big golden wall. Yeah. Very cool.
Very, 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 very cool.
And that was the end of Wave 2. There was actually, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sets in the third wave.
And that's it. We've named a bunch of sets, but just 7.
My favorite of this line, we're going to cut out of line, was the Dark Panther. And the box art for this was killer. I have it right here. Mm-hmm. I mean, that just looks cool.
Yeah, here's really,
great looking box. And
look at that.
Despite the sets being a little bit lackluster, this isn't the most amazing set.
There's an alternate set that looks better than that one.
Oh, yeah. That's the combination of a few sets.
Oh, that's the combination. My mistake. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but anyway, you're right. The box art is amazing. The jungle theme was kind of cool. We got the original logo and the original bad guys.
Actually, the bad guy robot art is different, but yes.
Yeah, it's a little different maybe, but yeah, they came with a sidekick too. Yeah. All the mechs, the new ones from Wave 3 came with a sidekick. Mm-hmm. After that, though, there wasn't really anything new for the whole theme. Like, there was just like, here's a new one, and it looked good.
Jungle theme, yeah.
Jungle theme. That's it. No new characters.
A little bit of an afterthought.
No fortresses. No fun stuff.
You had the River Dragon, the Battle Arachnoid, the Assault Tiger, which was a big yellow one.
That was a good one.
Take-Shi, yeah. Hikaru had the Chameleon Hunter, and the Dark Panther was driven by the droids. And then you had Ryo and Hayato were stuck in the hybrid rescue tank. I don't think Hayato was even there.
No, they got rid of the girl.
He was in the River Dragon.
No, they got rid of the girl character, though. She's not in here.
Yeah.
What's her name?
Then you had the Storm Lasher from the
That's
robots,
cool.
And it's cool, but it's driven by a drone, not a Devastator.
That's weird.
Some weird decisions.
Yeah, you could clearly tell they were running out of ideas. This theme was running out of steam by that point. Mm-hmm. But
I'm curious to know the behind the scenes of why that was. But anyway, that's how it worked out. I think it's probably actually. Let's get on to that. Since we already talked about the comics, talked about the anime inspiration, we talked about the ferocity.
Yeah, and the warlike nation.
I think that Exo Force ended up making its kind of lackluster exit because Lego didn't like how absolutely war-centered this theme was.
Yeah, it's all combat.
There are dead humans. There are robots looking to
You're not going to see people. Ninjago City Gardens with this.
No. There's
no gardens in this set.
It's not just a band of superheroes in a world. It's a world at war.
Pretty
And
much.
I think that the Lego group having a very pacifist, anti-war stance for a lot of its toys.
Most of them.
Most of them, yeah.
Star Wars.
Anyway, yeah. We both did
We knew exactly.
No, but because this is very war-centered, it's an original Lego theme, they really had to dial back. They had to try something different. I think Ninjago fits a lot better there.
In the
their
Lego
ethics,
theme.
Their ethics.
There's like
worldview,
learning the martial arts. And,
Yeah.
you know, all this other...
Finding your true potential.
growing as a person.
This
you know,
is
all this good stuff.
survive! Kill the robots!
Murder them!
Murder them all!
Blow them up!
So,
risk your life!
as a kid...
It was awesome. As a kid.
You and I grew up beating the pulp out of each other with sticks out in
Duct
the
tape
woods,
swords and
and we
stuff,
had a
yeah.
great time. And this really was our
Resonated.
wheelhouse.
Resonated.
I remember us just screaming at the top of our lungs at each other, like, "Yeah!"
Our parents would be like, Mom, Dad, like, you guys good?
"Yeah, they
guys
actually
good in
said,
there?
okay, calm down.
Chill
You're
out.
screaming
Chill
too
out."
much." Yeah,
That would happen occasionally.
because we were
would get-
just absolutely rambunctious boys. These war-centered toys were so much fun.
They were epic. It was really epic, honestly.
Because of that, I think that Lego pulled the plug and went with more acceptable themes. I don't know. This is a little bit not for everyone.
Okay, so they went from anime, which can be extremely violent, to more like Ninja Turtles,
yeah,
which is
like,
more fun.
like cartoons.
It was a cartoon,
broader,
and they made
broader appeal, possibly.
they scrapped the comics, which was awesome. I miss it.
TV
but
shows.
the TV show, which everyone adores.
Yeah.
And honestly, you know, for Lego's sake, yeah, it was the right decision to end the theme. It probably wouldn't have lasted very long, even if they did try to push it with a real effort. I think the third wave wasn't nearly to the scale of the original, but I understand. I get it. That's why I didn't buy a lot of Ninjago. I was like, I miss Exo Force. I felt like the Bionicle guys. Like, okay, I miss Bionicle. Like, I miss Exo Force. This was kind of our Bionicles, essentially. They're very similar.
I think so. It was for us. This was Bionicle.
Yeah. And that's why Ninjago left a bittersweet taste in my mouth. Like, it reminded me of like a younger age when I had like these really just cool. Lego was cool again.
I know.
This was not Knight's Kingdom 2. This was something completely different. This was like a lot of people remember Dino Attack, which is the most violent Lego theme they ever did.
Oh, yeah.
Dino Attack is like for most people what this is to us.
Yeah.
And I miss it. I wish they would do something, some sort of homage to it every now and then.
Well,
It'd be
they
so
did
cool.
a little homage in the Ninjago City Gardens. There's a little robot character using a backpack to make the headpiece. And it looks great. It's a little
That's
tiny
so
robot,
cool.
and apparently that's kind of like where Mecha 1 started now.
Oh,
in
no!
the lore. So
Is this post Ninjago? Oh,
maybe
my
it is.
word.
Anyway, so.
Oh, man.
But I will say, though, as sad as it is that Exo Force bit the dust, a lot of the themes carried over directly into themes like
This
Ninjago.
inspired a lot of stuff.
So mechs are a common thing. Big vehicles are a common thing. You have robots. You have Nindroids and other things that have carried over. You have
the
heroes.
hair pieces are kind of similar
You
to
have
some of the newer hair
The
pieces.
old sage leader helping the young
Four
heroes.
guys, and one girl character.
And a girl shows up in the next wave.
Yeah.
A lot of things seem to have carried over, and I think to their success. So good for them. And
So all you Ninjago fans who know every episode, every sub character, every supporting cast, all the actors, other stuff they've been in, like all you nerdy Ninjago folks out there, you owe your obsession to this.
Yeah.
This is where it came from.
This is the dark past of
This-
Ninjago.
the dark warlike past.
That might be the title of the video. The
The warlike roots of Ninjago.
The dark past of Ninjago. Anyway,
Yeah,
so well, thank you, Stephen, for discussing
Yeah,
one
you
of our passionate themes with
one of the
us.
all-time greats.
Yeah, one of our favorite themes growing up, and still one of our favorite themes today. Has some amazing sets to look and discover. Thank you guys for watching this whole video, hearing us just rant and rave about one of our favorite themes. If you like this kind of content, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We've got so many more videos coming out every single week. Hopefully see you then. Thanks, guys.
Take care. One. You can feel the energy.